And good morning. I'm meteorologist Mike Augustyniak, live from the WCCO Weather Center here on Facebook. It is 9:45. We're going to track the severe weather for you in southern Minnesota and talk about the chances for rain and severe weather here in the Twin Cities as well. Let's take a look at what's happening right now. These are the weather alerts. And again, if you're watching this later in the day, there's a chance that these will have changed. So you want to make sure that you go to our website, wcco.com/radar, and you can see all the live radar, watch, and warning information right there. But again, as of 9:45 this morning, southern Minnesota is under a severe thunderstorm watch. That's those yellow shaded counties. In the southwestern corner of Minnesota, these counties are under a watch through 11 a.m. And then here through central and southeastern Minnesota and southwestern Wisconsin, that watch, severe thunderstorm watch, continues until 4 p.m. The orange shaded counties, those are severe thunderstorm warnings. And let's start here in central Minnesota. Severe thunderstorm warning for south central Minnesota, including St. James, Fairmont, and Jackson until 10:15. This is a line of storms that has a history of producing damaging wind gusts close to, if not above, hurricane force. So I'll put a storm track on this as they race off to the east at about 45 miles an hour or so. And you can see some of the towns that will be impacted and the time that this potential for damaging wind and hail will arrive. Hanska coming up in just the next 3 minutes. Madelia at 9:57, Fraser at 9:59. If this line holds together, Fairmont would get hit at about 10:09. And then moving on toward North Mankato and Mankato between 10:20 and 10:23. I mentioned yesterday that the atmosphere is just set up differently today in a more dangerous way than it typically is. And so even though this is quote unquote only a severe thunderstorm warning, you need to take this seriously and move into your safe shelter on the interior or in an interior room on the lowest level of your floor, away from windows, and preferably, if you have it, a basement, because these storms will roar through and have the history of producing damage. A little farther to the east into southeastern Minnesota, you do see there's a tornado warning in effect. That's for out of our coverage area for parts of western La Crosse County. Sorry, make that eastern La Crosse County and Monroe County. But this is a severe thunderstorm warning for Buffalo and Winona, and also for Trempealeau counties for the next 15 minutes to a half an hour or so. This little Boeing line segment also has a history of producing damaging wind gusts in excess of 60 miles an hour, and it's moving off to the east also at about 45 miles an hour. So places like Black River Falls have been hit already with a round of storms relatively recently, but there's another one coming your way. Holmen will have the potential for damaging wind and up to quarter-size hail at 9:58, on Alaska at 10:03. And then again, sort of out of the CCO coverage area after that. There has also been a lot of heavy rain, so there is flash flooding that is either occurring or imminent right now in Winona, and we'll get to those flood alerts coming up in just a minute. Closer in, Twin Cities Metro, we have been dealing with rounds of non-severe thunderstorms off and on really since about 8 or so this morning. One round moving through, another round developing now, and in fact you can see off to the west there's sort of the northern edge of that line of severe thunderstorms that's also moving toward us. The atmosphere up here not quite as volatile as it is in southern Minnesota, so I'm not as concerned that we'll have severe weather locally. But because we've had a lot of rain recently, and because these rainfall rates with the storms this morning are between 1 and 2 inches per hour at times, there could potentially be flash flooding that develops locally as well. Widening out, you can see that this is a very compact cluster of thunderstorms that moved out of the Dakotas overnight last night, moving through central and southern Minnesota and Wisconsin right now. And these should continue to track generally due east, or maybe just a little south of due east, as we go through the rest of the morning into the early afternoon. Once they move out, much of central Minnesota, which is now getting rain and rumbles of thunder, will dry out. The Twin Cities Metro will likely dry out, even though there's the chance for scattered thunderstorms later this afternoon. But southern Minnesota will stay under the gun for really the rest of the day. Here's the evolution as we go through the next 12 hours. Through 11, that round of heavy rain, sort of the northern fringe of those severe thunderstorms in south central Minnesota, will move into the Twin Cities. Severe weather likely at this point in southern Minnesota, and moving into southeastern Minnesota for another round through the early afternoon. Then notice by 2 or 2:30, still raining heavily in southern Minnesota and across parts of Wisconsin. Much more scattered thunder shower activity here in the Twin Cities. And then north, we'll likely see a clearing trend and a drier trend. Northern Minnesota later today, we'll see skies break out into sunshine. We'll be close to 80 there, and humidity will be quite low. A pretty nice day up north later on today. Still a chance for continued rounds of rain right through 9 or 10 in the extreme southern part of Minnesota. So it's possible, once again, we'll have some flash flooding develop down there. New rounds of rain causing that, but most of the rest of us will dry out after dark tonight, and all of us will dry out through the overnight. Here's a look at the flood watches. Again, this is as of about 10 till 10 on Saturday morning. Flash flood watch in effect for the green shaded counties until 7 p.m. Flash flood warning in the Olmsted, Rochester area, Winona, up toward Lake City. Again, still rounds of heavy rain coming up there. Rest of the forecast through the end of the weekend, Sunday really right through the middle of the week, looks very quiet, very pleasant, very comfortable. But we are still going to be doing some cleanup from damage and from flooding through that stretch of weather. So my heart goes out to you that to those that dealt with the severe weather yesterday and now are dealing with it again today. Our web guy Steve is here. He's actually keeping an eye on some of your questions and comments on Facebook. And Steve, is there anything that I can answer for the viewers?
Yeah, Jason Paulo says they're having their annual festivities in Belle Plaine today. He wants to know what time do you think it will move out of the area?
So Belle Plaine, we'll sort of circle that general area for you. Southwest of the Twin Cities is going to be under the gun for a chance for severe weather really right through the afternoon. However, the steadiest rain should be probably wrapping up by the middle part of the afternoon. There will still be scattered showers and storms, and you can see here that there is an area of, it looks like training thunderstorms, storms that hit the same areas repeatedly, sort of in a line. I think that'll be lined up more along with the I-90 corridor than a little farther north and up toward Belle Plaine. But this is a computer model projection, not a guarantee. So there's the chance if we're wrong by 20 miles, it could be raining a little later into the day. But again, at this point, it looks like southwest of the Twin Cities, the widespread heavy rain threat ends by about 2 o'clock or so. We'll talk briefly about the humidity situation. Yesterday, we nearly set a record high dew point. It got to 80 or 81 in the Twin Cities. The highest dew point we've ever had in the metro is 82. That was back in 2011. Dew points right now have come down significantly, but not so much that that severe weather threat is gone. Again, in southern Minnesota, we'll pop in the dew point map for you right now. And you can see that there's still dew points in the extreme southern part of Minnesota that are running in the upper 60s to near 70, and that is in part what's fueling the tremendous amounts of rainfall. Notice how up here in the Twin Cities, up towards St. Cloud, Wilmer, Redwood Falls, really north of Mankato, dew points are only in the upper 50s and lower to mid 60s. The atmosphere not quite as juiced locally, so that's why I think flash flooding isn't as big of a concern here. There certainly could be some local streets and storm drains that get overwhelmed. However, at this point, it looks like the flash flood threat is generally south and southeast of the Twin Cities.
Ellie the Shell wants to know, will the Twins play tonight?
Will the Twins play tonight? Yeah, the Twins will play tonight. It's a 6:10 first pitch. We'll bring in that graphic for you, and I'll show you my forecast. I do think there's the chance for some scattered thunder showers through the Twins game, particularly in the early innings, but that's a pretty slim threat. And so it looks like going through the game, even with that slim threat early in the inning, first few innings, it should clear completely by the middle to last part of the innings. So yeah, I think the Twins game will happen. By the way, today will be a lot cooler than yesterday. High today only about 75 in the metro, and at first pitch temperatures down to 72.
I apologize, you may have already covered this, but Christy Olson-Roj wants to know, are there, Balsam Lake was hit pretty hard yesterday. Mm-hmm. Are they going to possibly be going through this all over again?
So the Balsam Lake area appears to be too far north to be in the severe weather threat. It is raining there right now. And so I know Centuria, Wisconsin, for example, Our weather watcher there reported 5.5 inches of rain yesterday. This morning, the rain has been a lot lighter, and we actually are not even, let's see, let's turn on the lightning data here. We're seeing a little bit of lightning, and keep in mind that if you're out cleaning up from the storms from yesterday, if you can hear thunder, you're close enough to be at risk for being struck by lightning, so you want to move inside. But at this point, the severe weather threat is next to nothing in the Balsam Lake area. There could be some 30-mile-an-hour wind gusts, and the ground is pretty saturated, so some of those tree roots may have a looser hold on the soil than they normally do. And 30-mile-an-hour wind gusts could potentially uproot some weaker trees that are in some of that really loose soil. But again, the widespread threat for severe weather thankfully has passed for northwestern and west central Wisconsin. Southwestern Wisconsin still under that severe weather threat for a while longer.
Just a weather jargon question.
Sure.
Straight line winds and shear winds. People want to know. Somebody wants to know what the difference is.
Okay, so the difference when they hit your house can be nothing. Straight line winds and weak low-level tornadoes, which are rotating winds, can do the same amount of damage. And actually, straight line winds do the vast majority of wind damage here in Minnesota and Wisconsin. It all comes down to how the storm was generated. A rotating thunderstorm called a supercell. That's when wind shear, which is a change of wind direction and speed with height, they tend to form those supercell thunderstorms, which are the ones that are most likely to drop a tornado. Straight line winds are formed under different conditions, and those tend to be what we're seeing across southern Minnesota today. Again, though, the bottom line is straight line winds can come out of a thunderstorm this morning at 70 miles an hour, and some of the lower end tornadoes have winds only up to about 80 miles an hour. So there's not a ton of difference when it comes down to what the actual impact can be. That's why we tell you that you need to take shelter even from what you might consider just a severe thunderstorm. Those can have straight line winds in excess of hurricane force. All right, so that's about it for us here. I'm going to stay in the Weather Center through the day. We've got updates on our website. We have updates, obviously, here on Facebook, and you can follow me on Twitter as well. That's where I post most of the immediate weather updates, watches, and warnings, because the sad fact is that Facebook's algorithms decide when what I post on Facebook is shown to you, not me. And sometimes weather information is outdated on Facebook before it comes into your feed. So if you have Twitter, I'd suggest you follow me. I'm at Mike Augustyniak on Twitter. We'll also keep you updated on, make that on air. I'm watching the TV station right now. We have crawls going in the bottom of the screen, and we'll keep those going as long as the severe weather threat is there. Thanks for joining me. At this point, we're going to sign off, and we will see you later. Lisa Meadows is in tonight, beginning at 5 with a look at the rest of the day and the really nice weekend forecast. Take care.